Hello my friends, back with another video, and today we're going to be talking about the 50 millimeter lens, and not the 51.2S specifically, but just the 50 in general, and why most people get frustrated with this lens, what makes it difficult, and how you can improve while shooting with it. Now, I feel that the 50 millimeter lens is like the best, especially for what I do, which is weddings mostly. 99% of our work is weddings, and it's a very versatile lens, but most people don't think of it that way. Now, what do most people think of it as? A portrait lens. Yes, it is a portrait lens, but there's some special features about this lens that make it kind of difficult for the average person to just pick up and use. If we're talking about a 35 or an 85, they're actually kind of easy lenses to use. The 35, you know you're shooting something with the background in mind. And with the 85, you know that you're shooting something with the subject in mind. With the 85, like, it's a beautiful lens, but you don't have to think about the background as much as you do with a 35 or a 50. The 85 kind of just takes care of things for you. It makes things melt away. And even if, especially if you're using something like a 70-200, if you zoom that thing out to 200 millimeters, the background just pretty much falls off. And as long as your lighting is right, you don't really have to worry about, I mean, even if there's things that you wouldn't normally want, like a person in the background or a car or something like that or whatever, it kind of just falls away. And that's one of the benefits of it, is you really don't have to think about that. It just compresses the background, and same with the 85. But as you get down to the lower focal lengths, the wider focal lengths, the background comes into focus. And most people pick up a 50 millimeter lens and they think, hey, this is just for shooting people. They start shooting it and they're like, why are my photos not gripping or more versatile? Or, you know, it's just something off that doesn't make them pop out or come alive. When you use very specific lenses like the 35 or the 85, sorry, it's very specific. As soon as you shoot it, you know exactly what the, purpose of that lens is for. With the 50, you have to kind of figure it out. This video isn't going to be too long. I just want you guys to focus on a few different things. It's because the reason why I sparked this video is people have heard me talk about the 50, and I've gotten a few DMs and people saying, hey, can you give me some tips and some tricks? I'm not getting it right. I have to play with the lens. It feels kind of difficult to make something interesting. And I want you guys to realize that the main problem that you're having if you're shooting with the 50 and not getting the photos that you want is you're not thinking about the backgrounds. You're thinking about it too much as a portrait lens when it's not just that. The 50 makes the background fall off a good amount, and especially with this 1.2 lens. I mean, I wish I looked this up before, but somebody just followed me the other day and they tagged me in their photo they took on Instagram, and it was a great photo of a dog, and it had some beautiful fall off of the hair, and I actually commented on it. I was like, look at that fall off, it's amazing. With the 1.2, it's incredible. This lens isn't necessarily to blow out your backgrounds or make them completely just turn into butter and disappear. It's the beauty of the 1.2 with the 50 millimeters is it creates amazing fall off between your subject and your background, but that doesn't mean that you don't need to focus on your background. A lot of people think that the background just should kind of melt away when you're using a portrait lens, and that's really not what it is with the 50, and that's what makes it difficult. I'm going to be showing some photos as I'm going through here, stuff that I've specifically shot with the 51.2, so you guys can kind of get an idea of what I'm speaking about here. But if you see in these photos, there's a subject, but the background also comes into play. You can see how I frame things, where I put the subject in areas where either there's leading lines, or it's framed by something, or the background comes into play. So it's a perfectly balanced lens of mixing the subject and the background. But most people, when they pick up a 50, they find it difficult because they're not thinking about their backgrounds. They're only thinking about their subject, and hey, it's a portrait lens, so everything should just fade away and fall off. That's not what you guys want to think about. That's why the 50, if you can master the 50, you've truly become, this is what I believe, is if you can master the 50, you've truly become a really good photographer. You've taken that next level up. in terms of like your skills, because you're not only thinking about what's right in front of you, you're thinking about how it blends in with what's behind your subject. And your photography can take on a whole new level if you start to think like that. Don't take the 50 out and just think, hey, I'm going to blow out everything and it's going to be blurry and my photo's done. No. Think about what's going on behind first, okay? And I've said this in other videos. It's kind of like when you're shooting people and you want to do interesting photos, you want to kind of almost think, and this is if you're outside, you want to think of yourself as a landscape photographer first, and then place your subjects into the frame. And that's how it works with the 50. When I'm going out to a job, a wedding, it's a new venue, something I've never seen before, the first thing that I'm doing before I'm thinking about, hey, how am I going to pose people, is what looks good. Where are the symmetrical lines? Where is something that would be interesting to frame somebody in? Where is the good light coming in and mixing with, like, a shadow or something like that? You have to look at your subject first and then place, you have to look at your background first and your environment first and then place your subject there. And that's when the 50 comes into play. It's a perfect blend between subject and background if you can do it right. And that's where the skill takes on because you have to sort of slow down first and think of the photo as multi-level. Okay, there's layers to the photo. It's not just what's right in front of you, it's also what's around you. And if you can blend those two in perfectly, create something a little bit extra in the photo or the background or the play with the subject, man, that's why I love this lens. It takes it to the next level. You can see that I add things specifically to tie it to the subject or draw attention to the subject. And that's really difficult to do. It really takes a lot of time. And that's why shooting with the 50 I feel is so rewarding, because most people get it and they're like, oh, this is cool. And then they don't feel like their photos are really like have that, certain something. And so they give up on it without working. And I feel like I'm a big proponent, guys, of minimizing that gear and mastering it piece by piece as you add new things in. Because if you master each lens and each piece of gear, each new light or something like that before you add the next one, then you're going to know immediately when a photo opportunity presents itself what to use that will look best with that subject that you're shooting. So I want you guys to focus on that. Like I said, it's not going to be a huge long video. It's just something that I've been thinking about because I've gotten a lot of people saying that it's been difficult for them to find good photos or use that 50 and they've given up on it. And I would just please just urge you guys to not give up on the 50. I use it specifically, the 28 and the 50, all my weddings. I do not pick up another lens. Sarah has the 35 and the 85. I used to use that, but I moved on from it. Now I just use the 28 and the 50 all day long. I literally never even pull out a 70-200. I just use those two lenses, and I zoom with my feet. And I get in close, get in far away, but I'm always, when I pull out that 50, I'm always looking on how to use the background to play with the subject. So make sure you're looking for your lines, guys. Make sure you're looking for things that you can frame your subjects in. Make sure you're paying attention to where your light's coming from and how it's playing, how all those things are playing together with the thing that you want everyone to look at the most, which is your subject. I hope that makes sense, guys. Don't give up on the 50. Whenever I get an email like that, people like frustrated with it, I'm always like, please just stay with it a little bit longer, because it really truly is a good lens. If you can master the 50, you have taken your photography to a next level, because that is kind of like, it's kind of like the seventh inning of photography, I feel like. Like the first through the sixth is, the 70-200, the 35, the 85, just basic lighting, stuff like that. But then you get into those focal lengths that kind of are a little bit weird. They take a little bit more effort to come up and think of, creative ways to use them. And the 50 is really, really something that once it clicks for you, you start to understand how to mold those two together, your subject and your background, to create interesting photos. Man, it's going to take your photos to the next level. So hope this helps, guys. Any other questions, please drop them in the comments. And until the next video, my friend.